Alrighty, hello students. Today I am joined with Jacqueline Sardinas, and she's going to show us all about her portfolio, inputting her resume into her portfolio, and she's going to answer all of those questions that you guys have. So let's go ahead and give Jacqueline the floor and begin with her presentation.
Cool. Thank you, Shannon. All right. Hey guys, my name is Jacqueline. This is my intro portfolio. I've actually never done something like this, and I'm really excited to help other students within the art field. So this is really, really exciting for me. So my name is Jacqueline Sardinas. I am going to be showing you kind of like an in look of how I do my portfolio and resume. So we're just gonna get started. So hi, my name is Jackie. This is part of my senior exhibition course pictures. So there's like a ton of these. So just about me, I am from Hialeah, Florida. It's a very small city well, a really small but big suburb, sort of in Miami. Very Latino, so majority speak Spanish, so not that many people speak English. So leaving here when I went to college was a really big culture shock for me. I am currently a post-production editor for one of South Florida's biggest news channels. It's called WSVN from Channel 7 Fox News. We're an affiliate with Fox, so that's pretty cool right now, currently, especially in the environment that we're in right now. I edit the videos. Well, I'm one of the editors out of a team of 5. We edit headline videos for local and national news, and also we do motion graphics using After Effects and Premiere. Before going into Channel 7, I was working at a events company. So I actually worked at sort of like a comic convention, kind of like San Diego Comic Con. They're kind of affiliated with that, but not really. It's more of like a local one, and I worked for the biggest one in South Florida as well. We used to have like 80,000 to almost 100,000 people coming to our shows. I was their video production manager. I was editing, directing, and producing all of their content, and making all of their commercials for their shows. I would talk to agents. I was talking to different people all the time and creating videos for like some celebrities, some big celebrities, and some like Marvel movies, comic book artists, voice actors for different shows, and we worked at the 3 different states at the time. So this is me and SuperCon. So that was like my first year at my Florida show. So I started my college career. I graduated in 2012 from high school, and then I went to Miami-Dade College, which is basically a really big community junior college in Miami. There's like over like 10 different campuses. I went to Miami-Dade College North Campus, and majority I did also in downtown Miami, which is called Wilson Campus, and I did my associates in computer animation. During that time, though, it's very interesting. There wasn't that many art 3D or digital design available, which is what I wanted to do. I originally wanted to go into gaming design, but I realized very quickly I was not good at math, and I actually liked more of the design aspect. So that was fun. And then right after I did those 2.5 years around there, and then I went to Florida State University. So I transferred, and I got my bachelor's in studio art with a focus in time-based media and printmaking. And time-based media is basically video editing and 3D design and animation, and printmaking is mostly of like wood cutting and screen printing, but I actually majored in screen printing. And I also have a minor in art history, so I know a lot of very kind of boring information about ancient Italy and ancient Greece, and it's very powerful for me because I'm just always full of fun facts. Just a little bit more about me, just so to be relatable. This is me at Channel 7. This is my best friend, my dog, and because of quarantine era, put my pointer here. These are me hanging out with my friends. I do like anime and cartoons. That's not too far from me. That's always been something about me. You can find me in my free time post coronavirus, well, pre coronavirus. I was always hanging out with my friends, either working out with them or I was going to a lot of shows. My dog is my best friend. That's basically true. I listen to all types of music. And I'm currently, my favorite style right now is color blocking and vaporwave. And I still have a really big love for Miami Deco. And I actually do like playing a lot of video games. And right now, because of Corona, because I can hang out with my friends, Animal Crossing is at best. So this is where we're going to start. So what does your resume look like? Something that I did when I first started doing my resume was it was 2 pages long. I used a regular Word document, very simple base template. I was just like, okay, this is gonna work. I'm gonna be professional. I'm the top tier because nobody else has this, and it was not true. And it looked like this. I actually found it, and I was really proud of myself. I found this and very deep into my email. It was 2 pages, and there's a lot of issues here. So what's wrong with this consistently is that it's too long. their eyes go everywhere. It doesn't get to the point. You're talking about literally everything. Like, I'm talking about high school, everything I did, my career at Miami-Dade when I was there, my first job, and obviously just bled into like what I was doing in college. So what's wrong here is that I didn't really need to explain everything I had to do. And how I found out through this, which is something that I feel like everyone should know, is looking into your advisors in high school or in college, finding if you have a career advisor. I found a career advisor in my college and she completely changed my life. I learned so much from her. And I found out that, like, just because I had one job, it did not mean anything. I can literally sell myself. I can really work that one job and people will be like, wow, that's amazing. So we're going to be going over how the difference between this and my current resume is, so we can see like what's the big difference. So I think I did a breakdown next here. So in my original one, there's two things you can kind of see. So there's spacing here. This is way too long. Like, it's very boring. This is spacing is not equal. We're talking so much here. Their spacing or not, it's not organized. It's basically the consensus of all this. Oops. So when we compare the original to the new one, this is way different. This is way much more readable. It's way more organized. You see that there's like equal dots of bullet points of information where everything is bolded where I want to be bolded. My name is bolded because it's about you. Everything is going to equal up. So like if I were to stick a line through all of this, it's always going to be symmetrical. And we're going to do a breakdown of everything. So obviously at the top, you see my name. For recently, I have it online. So I did take out some of more of my information, like my phone number, my address. I usually keep that in my resume, but since I've been posting online, I don't want people to come and visit me at all. So I left my email and I left my website for my art stuff. So for sure, the first thing we see is that it's organized. Again, you can stick a line through all of this. It's always going to be equal. Even this here, even if this is not equal, the dates are equal here. They're all organized. I have my school name here, and this is like what I want them to see. Notice here though, for education, I don't have like in my previous one, like I have like I did I did a club and I was a part of this and I volunteered in that, because essentially speaking, if someone is going to look at your resume, they're going to ask you, and you have that floor to just explain it to them and really show how personable you are and your experiences, because that shows that you actually did do something. And if you can talk about it, then you have nothing to really worry about. For my experience, I like to keep 4 at most. I used to keep 3, but it was just way too much information, so I keep it at 4. I break it down to that just because it just shows all of the little details that I do at work. And one thing for sure that I'm actually really, really bad at, I hate talking about myself. It's really hard for me. I'm very humble. I get nervous when I do that. So what I try to do, especially when it comes to jobs, I like to look up online what my position is in other places. And I like to kind of just take little pieces from those information bodies that like we tell you like what references are for, like, oh, what are your requirements and what your job is like, entailed to do. So I like to take little pieces and then kind of just rewrite them on my own, because then I realize like, hey, yeah, I actually do that too. And then I write it and then I remember all these different things. So for example, like my first bullet here is create and edit video packages for news headlines, top stories, commercials, and more for South Florida's most watched local news station. Boom, that's something that actually comes from the actual website. So like this part at least here. So so the first thing we see, it's organized. Your name is bolded always. It has to be huge, but it is about you, because you are literally selling yourself to all of whatever employer that you're going to. I like to keep bullets the same just because it keeps it organized. Obviously here it's different, but it's because it's this section, it's still the same. Here in the experience, it's still going to be the same, and we're going to keep it that way so it keeps a flow. So when your eyes read it, it doesn't go everywhere, because there's going to be a consensus of like how easy it is to read. My numbers are aligned. If you're using Word document, there's actually rulers that you can use, so it's great. And I keep the same look. And also something else here, keep the same look. And in fact, that my example is that I don't have periods at the end of these sentences. So one thing for sure that I always tell people is that when you make a resume, this isn't your final draft. Like this isn't your last one. This isn't going to be, okay, I'm going to give this to everyone, because I promise you, you can write the most perfect resume and you'll come back to it a week or 2 weeks later and you forgot that you left a period like over here, or you left this date, you didn't space it out and it's over here. And you're like, damn, I sent this, my bad. Oh my God, like this is embarrassing. So you always want to keep checking everything. So this is the bottom half. So obviously still, we're still aligned. If you were to put this on the top, all of this is aligned over there. You know, we're still keeping the same kind of symbols, separating everything, and the same 4 bullet points. So this is when I worked at SuperCon, and as a little bit more, a lot more information, because I did a little bit more over there. And then obviously it comes to the skills. So something that I want to point out is like the additional skills is very important. You don't have to put every single skill that you know on a resume. I think that the ones that are like the top tier, like if you can pick your top 10 skills, great. Me, for example, I actually recently got told not to put bilingual, like put I know Spanish and English, but what if I went to a different market outside of Florida or outside of Miami? A lot of people outside of Miami don't speak Spanish. So I am an asset to the company. So you want to keep those types of skills on your resume, just because that doesn't, it's not that it kind of pushes you more into your employer, but it also makes you an asset, which makes you more of this responsible and more uncounted for employer, so to your employer. And then obviously I have my proficiency in Adobe Suite. There's a million Adobe programs. The ones that I know the most are Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, InDesign, and After Effects. I know a little bit of a media encoder, just because that you need to use that to export videos. And I actually talked to my friend yesterday when I showed her this presentation, and the one thing she asked me was, what if you only know a little bit of it? Like, what if you only use the program once and there are people out there just like, yeah, I know Photoshop, cool. If you, I thought about it, and it's true, because you sometimes you do one thing, you're like, I know how to do that. Like, I changed a tire once, I could do it again, and then you turn out you don't know how to do it, and it's okay. That's fine. But for me, it's, for example, like this: if you've ever used Premiere before and you want to put it on your resume, you have to ask yourself these questions: do you know how to scale a video? And do you know what a keyframe is? If you don't know those 2 things in Premiere, do not put that on your resume as a skill, because those are the first things they're going to ask you in coming into a job. It's the same thing with Photoshop. Can you take out a background, and do you know how to mask? And can I, can you clean up something really well in Photoshop using these 3 basic tools that is actually known in Photoshop? If you cannot do that, you shouldn't be putting that on your resume. You should be researching more on how you can enhance your skills, and then be confident enough that you can be like, hey, yeah, you know what? I can use Photoshop. And if someone asks me how to use it and tells me, hey, can you do this for me? I can do it, and it's not going to be a problem. And the same thing goes for all these other programs. Something else I'm also, obviously knowledgeable in is PC Mac OS. Somebody did ask me as well, like, why did you put this? Like, why does it matter? PC Mac OS, there are a lot of people that only work with Windows. There's only people that work with Mac, and the keys don't match with each other. So that's just me. Other stuff on here, like the Avid iNews, that's something that you will never see unless you work in the news field. And that's like a whole other ball field of a conversation to go into. This is also a program that you use in the news field. So currently, as you can see, my resume is made more for digital media and the TV production field. So if I were to apply to a different station, they can take on my resume and be like, okay, cool. You know what it is to work in news. You know, understand the production. You understand how the newsroom works, because it works really fast. It's very it's very on the roll, like, hey, like, I need this like 2 seconds ago, and then you're just like, oh my god, and you have like 10 seconds to create something, sometimes maybe at least 5 minutes. So that's just me. My last one is, like, I put most social media platforms, Microsoft Office as well. Microsoft Office is, I've been around for a million years now. I feel like I'm 1,000 years old. Microsoft Office was started when I was like in 5th grade. So we've been doing stuff Microsoft Office my entire life. I just leave it at that, just because it's a consensus of like, hey, you know what it is. Aside from that, I do also know how to use Google Suites, which is something also I need to add on here, and I should. Most social media platforms, a lot of people don't know how to use Facebook. A lot of younger crowds actually don't know how to use Facebook. A lot of people don't know how to use Instagram or Twitter or these different types of social media platforms, and it's really good to know. I know a little bit more as well with Facebook, because I actually know how to make ads on Facebook. So it's Facebook ad managers, which is something I did in this job. So what do we learn from here? So the tip is, if you want to put a skill that makes you want to stand out as an asset. For example, you're bilingual. Yes, I know how to speak 2 languages. I have no issue. I will say hola, and I will say hello, and I can be like, I can help in any language. So it's great. So put skill relatable to you currently. So let's say also that's like a really big deal, and that's something I realized that I was doing. Something I did 3 years ago was working with Facebook ad managers, Google AdWords, WordPress. And that's not something I work with now. So I need to have that on my resume now? No, because one, I haven't worked with it a lot. I don't really remember, so I would need a refresher. And if someone were to ask me, hey, make me an ad, it would probably take me a really long time compared to how it was like almost 2 or 3 years ago, that I was like, yeah, give me like 15 minutes. Let me like write some copy right up. Let me put this together? How much do you want to put this? Because, you know, there's a lot of like process, there's a lot of steps that go into it. So also, this also helps you if you are applying for a job, what skills do you currently have that will also be relatable to applying to? So, like I said before, if I were to apply to a different station, my resume is perfect because I would just go and be like, hey, I know iNews, which is really, really kind of like a basic of news. And it's really hard to understand. It takes about like almost 2 months to like learn. And I know the Viz, which is like a computer program. And I know how to like kind of like work sets on the computer using these special keyboards and, you know, and I know how to work a newsroom. So that's something like that. So now we've gone over that. So we've gone over a resume. This is a standard resume. You're probably like thinking this is not art related. This girl's lying. I don't know what she's talking about. That's not true. So so for sure I have my standard resume. So now as a designer, what is it that I've done that can really stand out as my resume? So I have my standard resume to give it to regular companies, something quick. Hey, here's my resume, whatever, you can have it. But sometimes I'll have one of those jobs I have applied for too, where there's a second like, hey, do you want to add any more documents? And I like to add in my art resume just so they can see that I do have some sort of skill and like where I've used, what programs I've used to create it. So we're going to go over three resume styles that you can probably see the really big extreme from one end to the other of how much it's changed. So this was my first resume when I made in college. As soon as I graduated in 2017. This is in the middle of the last 2 years. And this is actually my current one that I actually made because I'm into this really big minimalistic look right now. And that's just kind of like what I'm like looking at and what I'm studying and what's actually being on the internet. So we're gonna go over all of them. So we're gonna see what is the big difference here in between the span of like 4 years. And it's really, really great. And honestly, when you compare and contrast and you look back at it, you're just like, wow, I've changed so much as a person and my style. So going here, this is a huge mess. When I got out of 2017 in college, I graduated. I was on this really big high of like, I'm gonna design. I was designing every day. I'm quirky. I'm colorful. I'm gonna be doing that. I speak Spanish and English. I am like, you know, I'm a first generation of like college grad. I'm gonna get all the jobs in the world. So they don't really tell you that it takes a little bit of time. So it's not that bad. So my first resume, I did this on Illustrator and using Photoshop. On all of these, I've used Photoshop and I've used Illustrator and I've used towards this part here, I used InDesign. So here, you know, I created this thing to make it more fun. My education, again, still the same thing. It's still all aligned. This is aligned. Everything's going to be perfect. At least for me, it's like, you know, I'm like, I can read this. This is going to be cool. I added this design here because I was like, I want to show them that I can draw and it'll look quirky. And like, these are my little guys that would draw for some odd reason on everything I did in 2017. But there's a lot of issues here. So like, you know, I don't really like that it's all over the place now. It's you want to look at everything. You're not paying attention to this stuff, which is like what obviously is the main part. But there are things that are like really cool. For example, my skills. I could have written out Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, and InDesign, and all of these other icons. But instead, I actually saw from a friend of mine when she was creating her resume. I was like, this is so smart. Like, yeah, of course you're going to put an icon because if I'm applying for a design job, why wouldn't I put an icon? Because they know what the job is. And like if they know those programs, they know what those programs are and what it looks like. If you know Adobe and Creative Cloud, these are the looks. That is literally the look of Creative Cloud. At the time I was using a lot of Tinkercad, which is like a 3D animation program. It's free on Google. I learned how to use Maya. I was using Maya all the time. That's how I did for my senior exhibition class. This is Unity, which is a free game engine design program. This is Microsoft Office, and this is Media Encoder. And then I drew this little guy here to show that I was actually bilingual, which I still love, and low key, wish I can keep it on everything because it's so cute. So here you notice I never put my experiences. I put the extra stuff I did. What was I doing? I was a production manager. I was a video intern. I did a bunch of other really art related things, but I don't like it because it doesn't explain anything. And even if I were to have had this on my resume, I don't have every single description of this. This goes on my CV, which we'll be talking later. Then we'll jump here, and we're obviously changing this design. I got into this really big dilemma. I was like, I don't want to keep this anymore. I want to do something new, something more mature and more design proof. And I looked up on Google different designs and I saw these different designs. I was like, I can do something like that. So I took a part of like creating this design on InDesign, very making it very condensed, very simple. My experience is just 2 jobs. And this is a pretty good one. Let put my picture so you can see who I am, my contact. I decided instead of putting, my phone number, email, email semicolon, my email, my phone number, semicolon, my phone number. I decided to put icons, which is still something I would really like and probably going to incorporate into this one maybe sometime later. And then I put my LinkedIn, because my LinkedIn obviously has way more information and all my experiences that I'm documenting at the same time, and people that have endorsed me, which hasn't been that many people, but like people that do like all of my skills and whatnot. My skills down here, and kind of just kept it very condensed. I know how to use like a ticketing site with named GrowText, which is something I don't know how to use anymore. So if I were to put that here, I would be lost in the sauce because I don't know how to use that. I don't remember how to even log on to that website. So like those stuff like that this was like almost 2 years ago. I can't put that on a different resume because I am confident enough to know that I'm confident that I don't know how to use that program. And we're still keeping the same consensus of like, we're keeping everything organized. I'm a video editor, digital media person. I can work, then, telling that to people is like, okay, so what you're experienced with and what you're familiar with. And then my last one, this is recently made. And again, I showed this to my friend yesterday. She goes, "You have typos everywhere." And you know what? I kept them to show you guys, like, you know what? Even if you spend 3 hours, 4 hours working on this, and you were like, I spent the whole day working on this resume, I am ready for whatever job. Always share this with other people. Like, you never know what mistakes you've made. Oh, you put a period here, you spelled this word wrong. Like, you never know what you can find. So I always keep the same icons, but now it's very condensed, very small. I left like the 5 that I'm really good at. I left like the stuff that I left on my resume and my skills. Now I have it here because I think it's cool to see them all typed, because it's more you're seeing more information. My name at the top with my email and my website. My education is still the same way. I keep it that way. And then I actually was able to fit in all 3 of my jobs that are related to whatever digital design job I was applying to. And granted, I also, like, before all of this, where I was working in an art field, I was working at Starbucks for like 7 years. So I can make the best latte you can ever experience in your life, probably. But it's not art related, so I can't put it onto my resume. So the art resumes, you want to just keep it all in the same field of like what everything is. And that's kind of where we can leave off with that. So if you want to create one, research, look up on Google, hey, I want to make an art resume. Or even if you don't have a lot of work too, which we'll be going on after as well, just to mention it now so like we can, to be ahead for it. If you have work and you want to show it, obviously you can't show it on a resume, you'll be there all day long because it's pages. You can make a Google slide. If you have videos, you can make a reel of like 30 to 40 seconds. You want to show people really quick some short clips that are really cool. And when you show that to people, they'll be like, wow, I want to see the rest of this. So they're going to look at your Vimeo, and they're going to look at all your different sources that you have to relate to them. If you have hard copy work, for example, like prints, screen prints, illustrations, or anything like that, you can make a slide, and you can also make a video too, where it just kind of fades in and out, and have a description of like what the medium is. So, oh, 1 second here. I'm back here. Oop, there we go. So what is a CV? And this is the next thing we're going to talk about. Let's go on here. So the Google definition of a CV is a curriculum vitae. This is something I didn't even know. I did not learn this in high school. No one taught me this in high school. I learned this on my own, talking to my career advisor. So the curriculum vitae is a Latin course of life, often shortened for CV or vita, is a written overview of someone's life's work. The breakdown as easiest way as possible is you literally are able to put on many sheets, on many pages, everything you've ever done. You volunteered, you did competition of something, you did an art residency. I did, I worked with the homeless. And even if it's not related to whatever you're doing, it's every single thing you've experienced and how you've been involved with your career and your community. So here's a breakdown of my CV. My CV is 3 pages long. So obviously, in the first page, I have my name, my email, and my website. Again, I obviously did this for a website, so I don't have my address and phone number on here. I left my education. So this is all formatted a little differently. So here you have I have my Bachelors of Arts, my associates in arts. But something I can fix is I can add time-based media, a bachelor's of arts in studio art. My associate's in arts and computer animation. But I left it at that so that way, me personally, maybe they'll ask me like, oh, I see that you went to school here and what did you do? My overall GPA, obviously this is still organized in that sense. And here I kind of just change all of this. Now it's very plain because now you're going to be putting way more information. So you want to save as much space as possible. So I have, my main job is going to be italicized, you can see it. And what the difference is between my resume, this is bolded. But you want to keep the same design. It doesn't matter if it looks different as long as it looks organized and it looks the same. These are the same thing you see on my resume. This is the same 4 dots. It's just that it looks a little different. But now you can see that my last job was Starbucks. And then we go to my second page, it continues to super conventions. And then after that, it goes to the Cuds Review, where I was the one of the visual arts lead when creating our literary catalog. And then after that, my internship at this gallery that I was an intern at for a gallery in a local, kind of like a Wynwood area art district in Tallahassee when I was in college. And then my skills, I always updated the same thing. You don't need to put all of them. I could if I want to, because it's CV and you can do that. But I decided to just keep the basis of like what I want to put. And then we'll go into here. And this is something I left here so you can see that there are actually mistakes on here. And again, this is why you need to review back. And before you send something out, just take a peek at it and you never know what's going to happen. And maybe you're like, oh my God, I never filled this out. Oh, I got a new job and I never even updated it on my resume, which has completely happened to me. It just happened to me. I realized I was working at my job for 7 months. I never updated it. My LinkedIn, I never updated it on my resume. I never added it to this. That's why this down here, your volunteer and community experience on why you can, you have all those things that you've done. I have access here because I'm going to fill this in. So that's just my mistake. That was my bad of my end because I haven't updated everything just because it's been a little busier. So down here is your community experience. Again, it's all organized. If I were to stick a line through all of these, it's all organized. But notice here, this is because the spacing was wrong. So because I added this bumped over because you're adding more spaces, obviously, to Word. So, I'll backspace this and it'll match up with all of this here. For example, so this is like a good example of like what I mean. Like you show your experiences like you had in your job. And my super conventions job was obviously working different shows in different cities. So I put our show dates. So at Florida SuperCon, I was there 2018. My Raleigh SuperCon was also there 2018. We went back to back on a show and I believe that's June or July. I'm not too sure now. But we were back and back in 2 weeks time based of going back and forth to the different shows. Spooky Empire was in Orlando. I just left that. I didn't put the city just because it's just a show that I worked. Went there in October. And then later in October again, we went to Louisville. And then I also was a video intern before I got that job. So that only shows I worked was Paradise City Comic Con. I did that January of 2018. Actually that's wrong. That's supposed to be 2017. So you see, you need to keep track of everything. So that's great. And then, the rest of here, it's not all art related because down here, you can see I had my first volunteer job was in college in 2013. I worked for a hospice of South Florida. I was a volunteer for a class, and that was actually my community service for that class. So yeah, I put there because I actually did help a lot of people. And, from there, it starts becoming an art related thing. So it doesn't matter what you've done. And another thing too, to also point out, and it's something that I learned later on, if you only worked one job, let's say, for example, hypothetically, your first job was at McDonald's and you know what, you worked there for like 5 years and you know what, you worked it. You came every day to work. You were a good employee. At some point you became a lead and now you're a manager and some sort of supervisor. And now you're handling a little more than whatever that you're doing before. And you have a lot more tasks and responsibilities. Own it. If you noticed here, actually it's down here, if you get to see this PowerPoint later on, if you put here, I owned it. Cash register, I was money management. I gave A1 employee customer service to everybody, and people love that because people love talking to you about all that type of stuff. And it'll be like, oh my God, you talk to people. I love Starbucks. And you'd be like, haha, I love Starbucks too, even though if you're lying, it doesn't matter. So you want to sell yourself and sell everything that you're doing. So it's always fun. So here's the condenses of all this. What did we learn? Organization is key. Your eyes can get distracted very easily, and other people's eyes can get distracted very easily. Also, make other people read your resume because your eyes get tired. Keep it a minimum of at least 3 jobs. So it's recent jobs. Be mindful of the tasks that you do. Look up your jobs in different markets if you need help in your position. And do not copy and paste. People do notice that. You want to copy and paste more of like the words and you rewrite it on your own way because it's your job and that's what you're knowledgeable in. Put your recent education and you can decide what to keep. I actually showed this to somebody yesterday and they were like, well, what if they're just in high school? When I was in high school and I went to Miami-Dade, I kept both, except that when I did my graduation for Miami-Dade, I put ETA because that shows that I'm obviously in college. And when I was in high school and I only had that as a job, I put high school. But when I graduated from Miami-Dade and got my associates, and then I graduated from FSU and got my degree, I put those two because at the end of the day, if you graduated from a college, they already know that you graduated from a high school. So that's, you don't need to have that information and tell them like, hey, I did the reading club in high school, because they're going to be more important, more interested in what you did in college and how it related to your field. Put relatable skills you know to you at the moment. Don't keep skills that you knew 3 years ago and don't remember now. So whatever you don't now, and if you think that it's not affiliated to you from 3 years ago, don't put that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't stop researching. Look at your resources in school and colleges for a career advisor and ask maybe your favorite teacher or your professor to look at your resume, because fresh eyes can find grammar mistakes. They can help you. Maybe they'll tell you like, hey, what if you move this to this side to this side, and it'll have a better, you know, creative look to your entire resume. And make sure if you're posting online, how do you want to be contacted? And it's okay not to put personal info like your phone number, your address. If obviously, if they want to talk to you, they'll tell you, hey, can you give me your number? I want to give you a call. And make things easier for you. I like to do this, and this is something that I haven't mentioned yet, and I wanted to mention now. Create a cheat sheet. I have a cheat sheet on my Google Doc where I have references to what my references have phone numbers and emails, their addresses. I have the references to my old jobs. I have actual blurbs of my resume, but short, because sometimes when you post copy, when there's jobs that you apply for and you ask for like, hey, can you repeat your entire resume here? And you're just like, okay, well, now I have to type all this out. I used to copy and paste and realize afterwards it gets cut off. And I was like, well, that's amazing. So I made like short versions of it. It's like two bullet points or 3 bullet points. I have like a little paragraph of like every single skill I've ever done, because I've had jobs where they tell you, can you please put all 30 skills that you know? And you're just like, I don't know what I like to do. So I actually wrote out and took time and looked at like synonyms and like kind of like show like a words of like, what is a different word for time management, so I can make it like really nice. And you can do that and you can keep it to yourself. You can keep it on your phone. And whenever somebody tells you, hey, do you have a reference really quick? You don't have to call people, because sometimes people are busy and sometimes people don't get back to you for 5 days. And then they'll be like, oh my God, I just saw this message. I'm so sorry. And then they give you the information and say, well, thanks. It's too late right now. So that's just a little small thing you can do. When creating an art resume, if you create an art resume, if you're a designer in a related field, look up different styles, incorporate your style, and Google is your friend. Keep researching. Think creatively how you can make your resume unique. Does not have to be everything, but it could be a small detail of like what you do and what makes you stand out. For example, for me, it's always the colors. How will you place your topics? You can think of how you can place things strategically to not take up space, but also using your art techniques if you have that background, and how you're going to space everything out in your foreground. You don't need to put everything you've done before. You keep it short to the point, because if you keep it short to the point and they're interested, they're going to ask you, and you have a chance to really sell yourself and to like see how personable and sociable you are, and how intelligent, not intelligent, but like how experienced you are in your field. Create different versions of your resume. This will keep you brainstorming, and you'll want to see what your final look to be. I did 3 different versions, and I'm probably going to make more and more along the way. You want to create something to show it to different work. So this is where we're going to go into a different presentation. But if you have work that you want to show and you don't have it on your resume, and you just make this resume, you're like, hey, I have more stuff to show you. Remember, you can make a reel if you're making videos. You can make a PowerPoint. There are free PowerPoint templates on Google Slides. You can do different things as a sense of like expressing yourself. And I'm going to show you guys in a little bit just what it is, different ways of doing that. Pick your best works. You can put it together a minimum of 10 pieces together, or if a 30 to 60-second video reel to showcase. You never want to go past a 30 to 60 second, just because it's like a marketing rule, and that's a whole different other field. But you want to catch somebody's attention in the first like 10 to 15 seconds. If you can't catch their attention, then it kind of just teeters in between, like if they're going to watch the whole thing or not. And just a pro tip, keep all of your works in a file designated folder and back up your works in case of an uh-oh. And never forget to always save. That is the number one rule for any designer, wherever you are. Please don't ever forget to save. It's Command S on Mac and it's Control S on PC. You will thank me later. You never stop thinking that. And that goes for Word documents. Google does it on its own, so it's great. You can change your settings on Adobe to save every 10 minutes. That's a good time because things crash, things break, and things sometimes don't come back. And it's really sad when you work on something super hard and it does not come back to you and it hurts. The last slide, you can find me. I am on LinkedIn, my website, my Vimeo, my email, and my IG. These are all the icons that you see. If you see these, you are in the right place. That is me. I will probably send this information to Shannon so you guys can, if you ever have any questions or anybody wants to kind of just chat with me about like, hey, like I have this, what do you think of this? I can give you small critique of everything. I have no issue whatsoever and I'll help you. If it's a little harsh, that's just because my background in art was very harsh. Sometimes, especially coming in printmaking. But the honesty is the truth, and that's how you're gonna get better as a person as well. So thank you so much for this presentation. Shannon, are we okay to go to the next presentation?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Sweet. So that was that. And now we're going to go to the next one. Woohoo. So this is a template I actually found on Google. Not everybody, actually, before we go to this, there are different ways you can make a portfolio online. This one was free. This is on Google on the Google Slides actually, and I love the name. It's called the Portfolio Presentation Example. You don't have to keep this template the way it looks. I liked it the way it looks. I'm just using the stock so you can see the example, and I picked some of my works. There's some mistakes on there, so I left them so that way you can see. And I was also showing to my friend this yesterday, and she was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I never knew this existed. So before we go into that, if you don't, obviously not everybody has the access to Adobe Creative Cloud. Adobe Creative Cloud is a subscription. It's a little expensive. I understand that. I personally did not have Adobe Creative Cloud. I used to ask my friends, like, can you please give me this jailbroken copy so I can practice, which you should never do. So, because at the end, it could give you bad things in your computer. And you're not updated to the new tools, and it kind of just slows you down. And later on, when you're going into different programs and you're like, oh, I don't know what this tool is, because you were using a version that's like super old. The most recent one, I still use 2018 because that's what I use at work, and it's pretty similar to like what now. Not that many things have changed, so you kind of want to keep it in that realm. So I'm going to show you something that actually comes with Adobe Creative Cloud. It's the portfolio. When you have Adobe Creative Cloud, it's $64 subscription a month. I pay for it because I was like, when I first got my first real big girl job, I was like, I can finally I deserve this, I own this, and I work with this. This is my job. This is literally like down here. So Adobe Creative Cloud comes with a portfolio program. You can create different templates. This is my template that I have, and you can literally connect everything. You can make whatever pictures. You can link everything, and it's free when it comes with the Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. So I have my About Me. My website is jacquelinesardinas.myportfolio.com. If you want to change your domain, sometimes our names don't really exist. Like my name does not exist anywhere else. So my domain costs 45 cents a year, I think. I haven't done it yet, but if I really want to, I can change my domain to just jacquelinesardinas.com, and it'll directly direct you to this website. So my portfolio, my About Me is very simple. These are my photos from my exhibition class. It's like the most probably professional photos I took with my friends in college. And it's very me. I'm very, like my friends from college know me as like very tropical and very Miami and very Miami look. So I'm very internet art and internet memes. So like, this is kind of like more of my style. Kind of have a blurb here. So like, it's, when you go back to the top, it's just this. So like, this is just about me. So you can genuinely create these portfolios, and you don't have to feel bad of being like, oh, I'm talking too much about myself. Dude, do it completely. Talk about yourself, sell yourself. Hey, I know how to do 1,000 million things, and you probably don't. And that's what makes me stand out. Whatever. Not that I don't know that many. So I'm still learning along the way. Then it goes to my portfolio. I made this. I'm probably gonna change it, but it's something cute because it shows that I can draw. I do like drawing a lot of plants, so that's just me. This was made on Illustrator. And then from here, I break down all my different subjects. So SuperCon was my last thing. I haven't updated this in a really long time, and this is okay. That's okay. As long as you have something to show, like, hey, I know some art and these are my works, you'll be fine. Because anything else, you can talk about it. You're gonna be like, hey, I'm working on these projects right now. I haven't posted it because I haven't had time to do it, but I'm working on them and I can show you sneak peeks, and you can do that. It's completely fine. This is my SuperCon, so I kind of just gave like a synopsis of what it was. All the content can be found on SuperCon social medias. The only thing that I have to probably fix about this is that this company actually got sold to a different company. Well, this show, specifically the Florida SuperCon show, got sold to ReedPop. And if you don't know who ReedPop is, it is people that do New York Comic Con and do these other special cons in that East Side area. They do one in Texas too for PAX East or PAX Central, you know, and I actually have friends that work there now. So you know, maybe one day I'll go there now, but for then I'm working in the news. But like all of this content belongs to them now. This is my reel. It is 3 minutes and 59 seconds long. I did this once just because I was like, I need to show this. I need to put this on my portfolio. This thing is 3 minutes long. You're not gonna watch this whole thing. This is a mistake. But I'm gonna shorten it at some point, as maybe make it a minute long and just kind of show like the snippets of everything, and then we don't need to be worried about it. If you're interested, my website is there so you can watch the whole thing. It's kind of like a sneak peek of like things I've done and recorded and edited on my own. Stuff like this. This is like a magazine I made on InDesign. You know, I always leave the medium as well. These are videos I edited and produced as well. Took shots from. These are commercials. We were including celebrities. So we had Dave Bautista and Pom's character. Oh my god, I always forgot her name, but it's okay. So you can find all of this on YouTube. And this is a wrap-up video I created. And these are all like celebrity based. If you're into WWE, I got into WWE because of this job. And I met a lot of like wrestlers as well. So this is my illustrations. This, you know, just as a breakdown of everything. I do a close-ups of all my works. And this is something that you need to, if you're doing into like mediums and stuff like that, you can do close-up of detailings that you're working. Like this is stuff I made in college and this glows in the dark. That was ink that glows. These are zines that I made. If you put this together, it creates a different zine every time you connected it. These are detail screen prints. This is a CMYK. This actually, if you have the real print, it works in 3D. And this is like a collaboration with a friend of mine. And I showed like all the layers, what they look like on Photoshop. And this is like a lithograph, which is a very complicated way of making art, but it's very cool. And, you know, I did all of these illustrations. I did this by hand and then I retraced it on Illustrator. And the same thing goes for everything else. You know, this is my animations that I've done in college and still did some now that I'm working on now. This is my senior exhibition. This is just working something with Maya. So if you click on this, it works, you know, cool. It says, hi, what's up? And then, you know, these are all just experiments as it goes. This is probably my favorite one just because this is like, you know, these are test animations. So that's, as you go for the portfolio, again, it goes into all of these things. My digital inquiries, because I do some freelancing alongside it, and I did video art along the way. You can go into a really deep dive onto all of this, and this would take probably like hours to talk about. Besides here, we go back here, and this is the final thing. If I were to click this goes into my LinkedIn. So it'll be all directly connected to, and it has all my info. Here's my website that it's all connected to, and, you know, we can close that. And then afterwards, you know, this also goes into my Instagram, which I've also into my information where you can find me. And then, you know, aside from that, and if you have an email, it's just going to open up your email and it's going to tell you, okay, send me a message. What's up? Tell me what's going on. What do you want to learn? So it's cool. So now all my emails opened up. Let me close this really fast. Cool. So then that's one way, and that comes with the Adobe Creative Cloud. You can make this in your own personal way. It's the way how you want to and how you're going to show what your creative sides are. Then here we have a Google. So Google has a template, which is really cool, and I didn't know this. And I use this as an example to show you guys. So this is a 10 slides, super simple, to the point, and we're going to go through it really fast, just because we are almost out of time. So I made this template, you know, my first and last name, Jacqueline Sardinas. I'm a digital designer. And then I did the about me, very small blurb. You know, my name is Jacqueline. I'm originally from sunny Miami, Florida. And this is like what it's on my actual website. So like, this is just kind of stock. I put everything and copy pasted, because what's good about when you create one thing, you can actually slide it over to another thing. So you're saving time. And that's always great because at first it takes a long time. And then afterwards, you're just like, wow, this is quick. Give me like 10 minutes. I got this. So this was something I really liked. This is like your skill and expertise. I've actually seen these on resumes. For like art resumes, there'll be like a little corner and it'll be like these little bubbles. It's not like 10 of them, but sometimes people have that much, but it'll be like 6 at most. And it'll be like kind of like what's bigger and small, like what skills are like better for you or like what they're strongest in. So right now, as an example, I put my strongest is Adobe Premiere, then After Effects, social media platforms, and then the PC Mac OS. That's just an example. So you can input this. And this is on Google Slides. You can do this. And if you want to just try it out and see, hey, I don't have that many works and I want to see if I can put this together, you totally can. This is free. You can do it. You can practice this. And then you show it to your professors, show it to your teachers, see what they say and see what you can change and what you want to update later on. Portfolio samples. These are, I put this in my different works from samples throughout the years between college and now. There's a mix of 2D illustrations and 3D animations, both video and experimental, and much more. I was showing this to my friend yesterday. So this is like something like, I left this here on purpose. These are stock photos that came into the actual presentation. So like if I leave here, you can see, you can just fix it, it's fine. Or if you want to do this here, you can fix this here and whatnot. These are just stock photos from like stuff that I've made. This is like an Instagram video for SuperCon I had made before. So this is like the cactus, and this is like, what if you were doing this really fast and you wanted to do it? This is from Cactus, I showed you earlier. It's called Cactus. The medium was Maya, and it's a video. This is obviously misspelled, so you want to go back and sit. I haven't done this, so if I were to send this to somebody, what is this? Nobody knows. So I would have to put here, Happy Mario Day video for social media. Medium was Premiere Pro. The Flamingo Vice, which you saw in my portfolio. This is something that I made with a CMYK. This is CMYK. So, you put your medium always, you put what you use. It's a CMYK screen print, it's a Photoshop, and then it's on French paper, which is a type of paper that's meant for that. And this is Legs. This is like a collaboration I made with my friend Olivia. This was from my student exhibition class in college. And then the medium was Maya 2017 because that was my version I used in Premiere Pro. And what's cool about this is that if I were to put this here and I click on this, we go straight to the senior exhibition video because I linked it. So like how I'll show you how that looks really fast. You can just click on this and then just hit this button here and it link everything together. So we're gonna go continue. Then the career highlights here. I didn't animate this, but it's fine. Career highlights. I just put my 3 main jobs right now that are relatable into my field. Again, if they want to know more, they're gonna ask you. And if they want, and if they don't, then it's cool. I'm just mention it. If they don't say like, hey, I saw that you were working a video editor. You always say like, yeah, I worked as a video editor for the last like 4 years. My job did this. And that's how you kind of introduce into that. This is like one of the slides that said featured artist. I just put that I was in featured artist in the FSU Digitech, which was like, this is a technical conference in Tallahassee that's focused on design and coding in FSU. So like I got to be a part of that because of my class. Put some more work, some things that you can fix here too. You don't know what any of this is, but you can click on these. So this will take you to YouTube and you never know what it is. Or, this is one of my senior exhibition classes. So like you can go, it'll open up to Vimeo. And stuff like this, if you want to, you can resize this. You want to put more information. Also, what I could have done here is I could have just linked this to my portfolio. So it'll directly take you there and you have more information. And then the last thing is a contact. So, I misspelled my name. That's great. So, different things like that. You always got to keep looking around. This was made very fast. You have my name, my email. This is my portfolio, my LinkedIn, where you can find me, my Vimeo. And then I put one last piece because that's like just kind of the stock photo. And then, this was like a collaboration I made with my friend. And that's it. That is kind of just a consensus of that. It's 10 slides. You can really throw out a lot of information on that. And that is really it for me. So if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to help you guys. Send me an email. I'm more than happy to critique any work that you guys have. I'm very familiar with a lot of like digital design, screen printing, printmaking, illustrations. If you need help in Premiere, if you need help in Photoshop or InDesign, anything that in those realms of like those programs that I've been, send me a message. I'll send you videos. I'll send you tips and whatever. It's super. I understand sometimes it's really rough out here. Ooh. So we want to help. I want to help people. I didn't have that option when I was in high school of like, because I would tell people I'm going to become an artist, and people would be like, that's weird. So in 2012, that was a completely different situation compared to like now, where I'm like, yeah, I'm a digital artist. And so many people are just like, yo, Jackie, can you please help me? Remember that one time I made fun of you for learning one program? Well, I need your help in it. And then I charge them because that's what you do. No, you don't. You help your friends. But aside from that, if you guys ever need any help, please reach out to me. I am more than happy to lend a hand or give a critique or give you some advice on certain things, especially out of college. So that's all my presentations. So I can give it to Shannon now for any questions else that we wanted to ask.
Yes, thank you so much, Jackie. The presentation was amazing. I honestly wish I was good at art. All my classmates who are into art, I'm kind of jealous because it's such a cool field to be into. But yeah, very good presentation.
Thank you.
So yeah, the students did have a few questions. So one of their first questions is, what advice could you give them based on their first job when they get out of college? And what would you do differently if you had a chance to do it all over again?
So my first real job out of college, I got out of college, and again, I worked at Starbucks for like 6 years, and then I came back home from college. I stayed working for Starbucks for another 7 months, and I was in between all that. I was applying jobs back and forth, internships, and even some residencies that I was applying and looking at, because those things exist. And if you ever look into arts residencies, like that's something that's available to everyone, and there's many things you can do with that, and it enhances your skills. When I got into my first job was SuperCon, and it's a very bittersweet feeling of that job, because I came in as an intern and then I did such a good job, and I predicted my own demise of everything. I was like, I told myself, I'm like, if I get this job, I'm gonna stay here for a year, and I did. But there are things that, even if you get your first job, there's something that no one tells you, and I think that goes to everyone when you get out of college. When you get your first job, they know that you're a rookie, and they really do take advantage of people sometimes, and they did that to me multiple times. And if I were to go back and do something different, I think when I would have noticed the really negative aspects of my job, I would have been like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm not going to do this. But I stuck out for a year, and even though it gave me a backbone, I mean, there's so many stories when it comes to that place, and even though it gave me a backbone, I don't think, if you get your first job, really, stake out what you want to do and what you want to get out of it. For example, when I did a SuperCon, I joined that job because I knew if I were going to stay and making all these videos and getting all this experience, it was going to help me for other jobs. If you want to do that, that's fine. But if you don't feel comfortable because it gets to the point that it's kind of abusive, or it's very like, hey, they're forcing me to do that, they're making me work different hours, it's not worth it. Your mental health comes way before that, and your experiences that you've learned, you can learn that somewhere else at a more tolerable place where people are actually going to respect you. Don't make that mistake that I did, because I held it out for a year, and then they ended up firing me for very dumb reasons. So, and it was not unfair at all, and it was very unfair at all, and they did that to all of our coworkers in the end. So, those are just some aspects of it. So if you get your first job and you want to experience that, it's your choice of like what you want to get out of that job. An entry level job is an entry level job. Currently in my Channel 7 job, that's an entry level job. I'm going to stay there probably for another 2 years, because there is so much for my video production that I need to learn, especially with programming and becoming a coordinator. And I'm not going to learn that anywhere else, because that means that if I were to learn all those skills, if I jump the ship and I decide to leave, I can use those skills and I'm going to get a job. So it depends on what you want to do. Your first job is your first job. It could be a hit or miss. I will have to say that, but it's what you want to get out of it. If you don't like it, I just say get out. It's okay. You're not going to fail. It's not a big problem. You can literally get your old job back wherever else, and never leave a job on bad terms, because that way you always have your network and connections open back to that position. So I guess kind of like my answer to that question.
Yeah, that's extremely important, especially when we graduate college. We're ready for that first job. So that's very
Yes,
good.
you're ready for that first job, and sometimes that first job, it really crushes your dreams. It really makes you question things, and it kind of sucks, but you know what? It's literally growing pains, but you gotta learn. You have to make those mistakes, and if you don't learn, then it's gonna catch you really, really nasty back later. And I have a lot of friends in those situations and they didn't really take advantage of those situations and they're still not working because they're like, I don't ever want to go back. And you have to be strong and be like, you know what? I was weak before. Maybe I cried a couple times, but it's fine. I'm going to jump back and I'm going to be stronger. And like, if someone tells me something, I'm going to tell them something back. And that's what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so the next question is, what was the thought process that went into your portfolio? Like, how did you decide what to include and what not to include?
So as I explained before, I'm really efficient in multiple mediums, and that's where you have to really, as an artist, you have to decide. There are people that make bodies of work. For example, I have a friend that she is an oil painter, and she does her bodies of work space specifically on the brutality of police brutality, which is a current situation, or on police brutality and like the how our society affects Black African Americans. So she did these bodies of these beautiful bodies of work of like of paintings of like of different people throughout our history and like and this was in her exhibition. And honestly, I would go more into detail because but it's a little more graphic. But uh when she made these bodies of work, like that was part of her you know portfolio, something like that. Or for example, me and like when I was in college, I did a body of work specifically on the history of Miami. I did specific buildings because and I focused specifically on the history of where I come from and kind of like where the gentrification of Miami and the city is actually going towards, and where we've lost a lot of good art, a lot of these buildings and a lot of these good neighborhoods where we're creating all of this different experiences and art for people besides the tourists. It's more for like the local community. I did a whole body work of that and kind of would explain to my critiques what these histories were and like what it meant to me. And then showing people most of the time, because when you hear Miami, they're like, "Oh my God, you've been to Art Basel, you went to Wynwood." I hate those places. So, like, I want to explain to them, like, okay, there's just not only beach, and Miami Beach is not a thing. There are people here. There is history here. There's indigenous history as well. Like there's a lot to it. So when you're creating bodies of work in your portfolio, like you can pick, hey, this was part of my collection, I did this, and this is like my what I want to portray. And if you are like me, that I do multiple mediums, I do everything. I'll be like, hey, I am and like you saw my other in a portfolio example, I do a mix of 2D and 3D art. So I picked the top three things I would do and then put the names, and then I did detail work on them. And that's how you kind of just input that there, because you don't have to put everything. Sometimes it's just more of like, hey, I did this on Premiere, and these are details for that. And I did this on Maya, and when I did this on Maya, these are like my processes of doing all these different things. Or I did this on Photoshop, and I can show you that I can do 2D art, I know how to cut, I can do CMYK drawings, and I give these different things. Obviously these terms, if they don't you know what it means, you know what it means. So that's how you can kind of pick what you want in your portfolio. And your portfolio is what you want to showcase, like, hey, these are my strongest skills, this is what I'm good at, and this is what I think my designs are like the best. Because essentially it's your best work that you think that you've made in the span of like whatever time that you've made them. So that's kind of how you can just pick that in your portfolio for itself.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so for the next question is, what advice would you give high school students when it comes to furthering their education after high school and entering into the workforce?
So I got out of high school. It was very slap to the face, I would like to say. I graduated and I got my license, I got a job, and I went to college all in a span of like a month. I was like, okay, cool. I'm an adult. So, and it was not like that at all. I was just kind of like going into that new form of like college. I felt like it was like a sitcom. Like I was going into season 5 of my life of going into like high school, of going to college. But I would have to say, it's okay to not have a real job for the first couple years. If you got a job and you're going to college, you got a job and you're going to college. That's just how life works. Again, I worked at Starbucks for 6 years, and that put me through college. And that job was very good to me because I was able to transfer and go to a different city, keep my job, and then keep going. If you're in high school going into the workforce, keep researching, keep talking to people. If you have teachers that you trust and have connections, keep those peoples and keep those people in your group of like references. Keep talking to them. And if you go to college as well, sometimes you still don't have a real job going into the workforce. You when you go into college and then you get out, you should really keep in contact with those professors that you've worked with, because the 4 years at college, people just think like, oh, I just go to college, I'm going to go into my field, that's it. When you go into like art school, which is like my experience of everything, you are seeing the same professor over and over and over again for the next 2 to 3 years, because whatever your field that you decide to go to, for example, I went into time-based media and I went into printmaking. My two professors, Amy and Haley, I saw them for 2 years straight. I had them back to back, semester. I was in their office. I was having lunch with them, not because I was just like, yo, we're going to be connected. It was just because they became my friend. So even till this day, I still talk to them and they give me critiques on like half of my work, because I'll be like, hey, haven't talked to you in like 6 months. Can you look at this and tell me what if it looks okay? And, and you want to keep those connections. And that's what helps you. If you're going to go into the workforce, keep researching, keep working, keep creating, keep getting the jobs that you think that you want to excel in. You want to get good at customer service? Get a job at Starbucks, get a job in like food service, because that's customer service. And it really does humble you, because you meet a lot of people along the way and like that. Like for example, I used to think I was a really bad person. I'm great. There are very terrible people out there. And like when it comes to food, and that's just the workforce itself. If you don't create a backbone, I don't feel that you're not ready for the real world. And if you don't have that backbone, they will take advantage of you, and it's really bad. When you go into your real job, again, you take the skills that you know, and if you don't know something, start asking questions. People, don't ever be afraid to ask questions to people, because if you don't, you will be lost. And if you don't show that efficiency of asking and being like, hey, I actually don't know how to do this, do you mind taking 5 minutes of like teaching me how to do this really fast? And someone's gonna be like, yeah, dude, that's fine, I'll teach you, because they rather have rather than you just standing there and be like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, why didn't you ask for help? It's like, because I was scared. I've done that and I've learned the hard way. And then later on, when I ask questions, I've also met people that I've asked questions and they're like, oh, shouldn't you know that already? And it's like, well, it's also like my day 2 here, so why can't you just help me? And you'll meet people along the way like that, and it kind of sucks, but that's what creates a backbone, because it also can make you independent, and it also makes you, independent enough to be like, you know what, I don't need your help, I'm gonna figure this out. And then you start learning new things on your own, and maybe you'll learn so much more than the person that already knows before. Getting out of high school, going into workforce, keep learning, keep researching, keep asking questions, and don't ever like let anyone tell you that you can do something, because you obviously can, because you obviously made it that far to do something. And if someone tells you, well, I don't like the way you do it, then whatever, that's their opinion. You keep going and do what you're doing, because there's no option. And it's the same thing too, which is something I want to point out. And if anyone ever tells you that you're dumb or you're not intelligent enough because you went to community college, you don't pay attention to those people. You will get the same education that everybody else gets. It does not matter. I went to Miami-Dade. I got knocked out my first 2 years. The government paid for it because I had financial aid. I was working. It was way more flexible. Those teachers were super great and like would talk to me, and they were very efficient. And then I transferred and it was completely fine. And I went into, I only needed 2 years of college. You don't need the 4 years of experience. You save a lot more money, and it doesn't matter. I come from a very low income family. I'm the first generation of my family. I speak Spanish and English. My dad's Cuban and my mom's from Guatemala. They don't have a college education. I'm the first one. And when I was applying for school, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to help me. I figured it out because I was like, well, I gotta go to college. I need a job. So like, I asked those questions. I asked my advisors. I would ask even my friends' parents that were more, that knew more about it than I did, and they would help me out. And here we are today. I'm for future reference, like, I want to go back and get my MFA, and my MFA is probably because it's going to be in visual art, and I want to go back because I want to teach students in the art field at my community college, because there's some people that just like, oh, I'm gonna do this here, fine, whatever. But there's so many opportunities there. There's so much money and all that stuff. And if you do really well, you're always gonna be rewarded. So don't ever let anybody tell you like, oh, you're working and going to college, my parents are paying for it. It doesn't matter. Just keep going, keep moving. You're going to figure it out. You're going to make mistakes. Everyone does. But even if you do it, there's a lot of more resources to help you. And there's always going to be resources to help you. So just getting out of the workforce, just keep going. Keep learning, keep going. Don't stop. And if you have to stop, then stop. It's not no one's going to hurt you. You're just going to jump back and you're going to keep going because you already made it that far. So that's kind of my rant for that. Sorry.
Thank you for that. Yeah, because when students do go to college, there is a lot of pressure to meet an expectation that, you know, that is put on by society. But like you said, when you are ready to stop, you stop. You know, you set yourself up for success. So
hey man, I just graduated in 2017 and I haven't gone to college in 4 years. I said I'm gonna go and get my master's by 30. I turned 30 in 2 years. It's not in my plans right now. Other things happen, life happens. So you can't, you just got to keep going what you're doing. You got to take what it is. So.
Right. Okay. And all right. So for our last question, students want to know, what is the importance of networking and what are some of the do's and don'ts to networking and how do you use LinkedIn?
So, if you have my screen shared still, let me.
Yes, I do.
I'm gonna pop in my LinkedIn here. So I started my LinkedIn because no one told me to. I did that on my own. Because I was like, I think that's important, and I think that's like the thing now. So to answer the first question, the importance of networking. Networking is great. Networking is important. It also shows to people how sociable and personable you are, which is something very important because there are some people are like, this is my name. And it's like, okay, who are you? Like, no one's going to say anything to you. So my networking comes based from my professors starting in college. I still talk to them from time to time. And when you start talking to them and you start sharing ideas and you start telling them like, hey, I want to do XYZ. I want to start teaching. I want to start doing this. They'll start telling you, hey, I know somebody in Georgia. I know somebody here. Here's their email. You should talk to them. They probably have a better experience than me. And you want that. You want those types of connections. When it got to something that I because I worked in Starbucks, and that's just me because I'm a chatterbox, as you already can tell. When I was in Starbucks, I would talk to customers all the time, and that was like my favorite thing to do. Probably that's what literally got me through all the years. And I've met a lot of people that they would just be like, "Wait, you're an art man? I need this design. Can you think you can help me out with that?" And I'll be like, "Okay, cool. Like I'll help you." Like just like sure. But if I didn't know, I would be like, "Hey, I know somebody that can help you with this. Can you whatever." When I found out my college advisor, for example, it was because I was talking to a customer in Tallahassee, and we were talking because she had met me for an entire year and she never asked me any questions. And she's like, "What do you go to school?" And I was like, "I go to FSU. I'm an art student." And she's like, "Oh my God, my daughter's a career advisor at the school. You should totally talk to her." And I was like, sure, yeah, cool. I was just being nice. And she still came back and brought me her FSU like business card. It was like, "You need to go talk to my daughter. I've told her about you. Go talk to her." And she always told me too, like, "Hey, if you need connections or something," my daughter works for M&M, like the candy. Like she was a digital designer. She 3D animated like the animations that you see for M&Ms. So like, it's stuff like that. You just stay talking to people, man. And like when you have professors that are after the math, like, you graduated and you moved on, you have them as your references. You want them as your references. And that's like the beauty of networking. At SuperCon, I made really, really good friends. My friends Sean and Amber, they work for ReadPop. Now they work for New York Comic Con. They work for these really big conventions that are worldly known, and people travel the entire world just to come and see like Avenger characters, which is like, like the coolest thing ever, because it's like these are my superheroes and it's cool. My friend Amber, she is she's a oh my God, a sales manager for them. And she's been my reference for a lot of things. And whenever something comes up, she's the first one that tells me like, "Hey, this job is opening. Do you want me to say I can put a good word for you?" Or, "Hey, this came through. Do you want this?" And the same thing with my friend Sean. He's the social media production manager for them as well. And he'll say things like, "Hey, there's a video editing job opening up. Do you want it?" And that's like what you want with networking. With networking is like you don't have to be like, like, hoity toity. Like these are your friends. And and then you keep these friends as friends and you keep them as colleagues. They still have your information. You keep in touch with them all the time. I don't talk to them all the time, but that's the importance of that. When you go to certain settings, like I went to in Miami, there's an associate. I didn't know this until my old crazy boss set me to this, but there is actually I wouldn't remember the name. It's like a club, and it's like an annual thing. You pay for it, but you go, and it's a conference, a 50-minute conference monthly where they meet up and they talk to different social media people, designers, illustrators, artists, and you go to this like meeting at this like, I guess it's like a country club or something like that, and you pay $50 and you sit in and you talk with these people, and there's seminars. That's what they are. And the last one I went to was like how to create a website, click organic for your like organic clicks for your website, which is obviously a different field of marketing. So, I didn't know any of that. And like how to use Reddit. There was like another seminar I went like how to use Reddit for your company. You don't know that. And like when you go to those things, I sat next to this one lady and she was just like, oh, like, she started talking to me and I'm just very nice and I talk to everyone. I found out she runs a company that specifically focuses on the water environment in Florida. So she focuses on like all of these pipelines and like creating these organizations so that she can profit on helping these water lines, because the Everglades is so important to us, and we can't destroy these environments and ecology that's so unique to Florida because it helps so many animals. And like she was helping all these different things. And she gave me her business card, and she always told me, she's like, hey, like if I ever need a design, can I get your name and your number? And you're creating all these connections along the way. And I still have her business card. So like if one day I'm just like, hey, can I talk to you for an interview about, I don't know, fracking and like the differences of like the ecology in the Everglades? Those are different things like that. Never stop talking to people. It's really weird. I know I always got in trouble with my friends. They're like, you're gonna get like kidnapped one day. I'm like, I'm not gonna get kidnapped. I just like saying like, hey, I like your shirt. Like just like that. It's even like that. Like I start doing that. I'm like, oh my God, I like your tattoo. I like your shirt. And then they'll be like, oh, cool. And you start creating a connection and a communication with people. And so that's what I think when networking is just, you notice the people that are around you, and you really notice when you create friends and like where they're going places. One perfect example, a friend that I went to in kindergarten, she became a lawyer. I asked her for legal advice, and I was like, hey, like, can I pay you or something? She goes, girl, I went to law school for this, so I can help my friend. I got free legal advice. That's cool. So there's that. So, it's like different things. Networking is important. Talk to your friends, keep in touch with your friends, keep in touch with your professors, keep in touch with people you meet along the way. And if you don't have a business card, take down your information. Hey, here's my email. Send me an email sometime. We share, we can swap information. Here's my number, whatnot. When it comes to LinkedIn, now we'll go to here. My LinkedIn at first didn't have all of this. I kept the design. I don't know. I think one day I'm going to change this maybe, but I think it's so cute. It's personable. My picture, my information. I like LinkedIn because it's something now that we're using all the time. We're moving into this technological world. Obviously, we're getting more advanced and more advanced and more advanced. We have Indeed now. We don't even need to go to jobs. Every time I tell people like, yeah, I applied online, and everybody's like, I remember when I took my portfolio with 40 pages to a job. And it's like, that sucks. Good for me. I live in 2020. So, you can do all these different things. What's cool about this is like, you can have all your experiences. I'll see if I can expand on this. My first real like job was my internship at a gallery. It's called Railroad Square in Tallahassee. It's like this art section because art is very big in Tallahassee, which was really funny because I was the assistant to my own professor and I didn't know that later on. I learned skills there, so that's cool. I learned how to spackle. You know how to spackle? That's fixing a wall, and now I have that skill for the rest of my life. I know how to fix holes in the wall. So just different things working in a gallery. I was the assistant for a visual arts editor for a literary magazine. And then the cool thing is that you can link everything. So I don't know if this will work. I guess not. But that sucks. But I'll fix that later. A lot of these links don't work, obviously, because it's like from college. This changed because now they're different names. This is like the production manager when I was at Super Festivals. And obviously a shift supervisor Starbucks. And then it goes to like the most recent things. This is the same job, which also I didn't mention this. If you get a job within the same job, just keep the same name. It's not a big deal. There's different ways to format it. You can look it up. I've always looked that up because I moved to 3 different cities. Well, I worked in 3 different cities when I was working at Starbucks, and I would put all 3 cities in my resume. I don't have them anymore now. Once I left and I went to my real job, I put the final city that I worked in, and I left it at that. But when you're active, you can do that. So there's so many different ways you can write that. That's not a big deal. Like, don't freak out. Like, for example, this, like, I did this for 1 year, and then in the middle of a pandemic, I was like, hey, this job is open. Can I apply for this? And they're like, yeah. And then I got the job. So like, it's the same thing. So using LinkedIn was great. Let me see if I can go back here. I have a lot of people that I connect and I follow, because what happens is that what's great about it, when you start creating a LinkedIn, your friends start creating a LinkedIn. And then what the point it's called LinkedIn is because you can make a connection, right? Because you're like, and when you're creating all of these connections with people, eventually maybe you won't talk to people anymore. And what's cool about it is that when you start having these links and you start seeing all of their experiences, they'll be like, maybe you'll see somebody that's like, hey, I can use that in my LinkedIn. So you can make that connection and you can start looking at their profiles and see how they can help you. I have 187 people in my network. A lot of them are people from school. A lot of them actually are people I've never met through WSVN, which is like, my job. So let me see if I can give you a sneak peek. Like, these are people that I worked with. This is like my friend. This is like my friend from high school. She's a mechanical engineer she was a mechanical engineer for Spirit, and now she's working in Seattle. And like we have like all these connections because they have all these different techniques and everything. This is like my advisor from college. Like, she's she's one of my connections on my LinkedIn. And all of these different people just work together. And there's a lot of people here that the good thing about LinkedIn, when you create your profile and you create, like, for example, mine's is I'm a post-production editor. When you go down to my skills, there's like a bunch of them here. There's literally like 1,000 of them in here. I don't even know. All these skills, they get condensed. So when people are looking for employers and stuff like that, these will pop up on their search list. So you pop up on their search list and they're like, oh, this person knows a lot of things. So that's what they do. They click on your profile and they'll look at your history and they're like, oh, they did editing. Oh, cool. They do some design. Oh, that's sick. Like, they did this in college. So this is something they've been doing for years before the hand. So that's cool. Obviously here I have a lot of stuff from because I started this in college, so my education, like, I connected that I went to FSU. And then at the end here, this was like a piece. I think this still opens up. I'm not too sure. Well, oh yeah, cool. It does. So if you click on this is like a piece that they did in college, my internship. And this is like an actual blurb that they actually wrote about me, working for the 621 gallery. So this was really funny because I actually didn't expect that to happen, and then did. And it just works that way. Working with LinkedIn is more of like you creating your resume online digitally, and it's accessible. And not only that, but like, since you can send this to people, you can link stuff that you're doing. So here I used to have before all my stuff, my resume, and then I realized why if this is literally my resume, I shouldn't be keeping my resume here, but I keep my website. So it shows like, I am a designer, and you can keep all of these different things. Also, what's really cool about LinkedIn, you can see who sees your profile, which is really neat, because then you see like, oh, you know what? I do have skills. Like, I can do this job. And then when you apply for jobs on here, it'll always be relatable to what you're doing. So like, these are stuff in my area. I'm going to get obviously these news channels and like on-air producer stuff because it's related in my field because of what I have on my LinkedIn altogether. So yeah, make a LinkedIn, start editing it. If you're a senior in high school, you're a junior in high school, I would just start it. And if you're doing stuff in that related field, then cool. You're into AV and you're into TV production, that's a skill. Those are things that are going to keep following you till the end of time. My dad was a master control person for WB39, which is like a local channel here. And now it's the CW, which everyone knows as now. And that's all he did for like 20 something years of his life. And now that I'm in the, fast forward, years later, where technology is more advanced, there's not many manual people anymore. There's like we have more of a team base to do more work because it's all digital and it's all connected. Like, he'll tell me like, oh, do you use this machine? And I'm like, what are you talking about? We don't use a machine at work. Like, get away from me. So like, I'm like, I don't use that. So and then he'll be like, oh, like I use the machine that would put 15 tapes into a machine. I'm like, I just use Premiere and I send it to a system and it goes shoosh when it goes. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So, it's stuff like this that you just need to have. I have an Indeed as well. I don't know how efficient the Indeed is. I know it just has my resume on there. And another thing too for artists that is connected with Adobe, and I know that's free, is the Behance website. I have a Behance. It's not anything crazy. If you're very active in the art world and you're consistently making art and consistently pumping out work, making videos, and you're exploring your projects and stuff like that, Behance is great because you're just like exploitedly just sharing your art. You're not doing like the standard cookie cutter, like I worked here for 1,000 years. It's all just art. So you can look into that as well, if you're really into that. So that's kind of like where it comes for like LinkedIn. You can create it, you can write all the stuff, you can link stuff to it, and it'll help people because it's like, okay, cool. I didn't know they offered that stuff. Or you have like something like this, they can click on it. My website's clicked on it. So like, if you're gonna go here, boom, it takes you to the website. So it's very efficient, it's very quick. That's what people like nowadays. It's just fast. And the last thing cool that's about LinkedIn is the endorsement. And it's really cool because if you meet people and they know that you do stuff like art, design, everything, they can endorse you. So it's kind of like giving you a like and then showing other people, those other people can see them, and you can like how do I say, like my friend gave me an endorsement for the skill for video editing because I worked with her at SuperCon. So that's cool because then people will be like, oh, okay, so they actually do know how to do that. And then the other thing too is you can take a skill, you take a skill quiz. And in LinkedIn has like all of these different things. It'll like computer organize like all of these different skills that you have, and then you can pick one, and it'll be like, so you can take a quiz that's like 10 minutes long, and then if you pass it, it'll add that like award to your LinkedIn. So it'll look like, oh, hey, I know how to do this, and I did this test, and I proved that I knew how to do this. So LinkedIn will like approve it for you. Aside from that, I have done it before. You can do LinkedIn Premium. You get a free month when you're like on here for a little bit, and it's really interesting. It kind of gets to your head a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, because you can look at jobs and it'll show you who else in your connections are like endorsed for those jobs, but also where you rank on like the percentile of applying for that job. And it's really cool also because lynda.com, if you don't know what that website is, teaches you a bunch of skills. They got bought out by LinkedIn. And if you have LinkedIn and you have the premium, and if you just try the trial, it's like a month free. The LinkedIn also gives you free Lynda. So you can learn everything you can possibly think of in matter of skills. That's like if you were to go like to do a college class, that's basically what it is. It's like step 1 through 25, and it'll be the lesson plan, and you are like a professional like when at the end of it all. I've done a couple of them, so that's cool. Yes, the other thing I will say that I will close it out because that's just kind of, I know that's the last question. If you have or you're interested in Adobe and like learning more things, the Adobe Max conference for this year, the Adobe Max 2020 just passed. And this year they actually did it online. So that was a phenomenal thing. If you have you have access to Adobe programs or you're at school, or you have one of the programs, or you're doing a trial at home, look up the Adobe Max 2020. You can make an account and it's free, and you can actually revisit all of like the 52 hours of programming that they had of teaching you basics in Photoshop and Illustrator and Premiere, the new stuff for Adobe Aero, which is like creating AR environments without coding, because there's some people that don't know how to code and they're not going to learn because it's just so complicated. I am one of those people. I am very bad at math, so I don't understand it. And it's an available resource to you, and that way you don't have an excuse of saying like, hey, I'll never learn how to do this. These are the Adobe Masters and the Adobe Lab Masters that they work specifically for Adobe and the forums as well. So they create all of these labs, and they're like in 3 lessons, and they're only 25 minutes of video a piece, and they do a breakdown and a lesson plan, and they give you a workbook for free of learning all of these different things and skills that you have set. Like I learned recently how to do color correction more efficiently, and I have not stopped using it at work. And like lately, all my works has been like, wow, this coworker is really cool. I'm like, thanks, I had some free teachers, so it's cool. So that's just something else that you can have and add into your repertoire of things. Or if you're going to be graduate student, that's like what we want to do for the summer, because it's available till the end of the year, I believe. So yeah, that is my spiel. Shannon, I know I'm a chatterbox, so it's great. So if you have any more questions, I'm more than happy to answer as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Jackie. That's all the questions that I have gathered from the students. But if they do have any further questions, I will definitely pass them over your way. I'll also
Absolutely.
pass your contact information over to the students as well, just in case they have more questions about their portfolios or resumes or LinkedIn, all that cool stuff and whatnot. But other than that, yeah, that pretty much closes out our presentation for today. I cannot thank you enough. Your presentation was packed with so
Yay.
much information. I learned a lot of good stuff as well. So I really hope the students gathered some information too. And on that note, we're pretty much done for today. So thank you so much, Jackie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you guys learned something from it. If you have questions, please feel free to email me or get in contact with Shannon for my information. I'm probably going to give her more stuff. So thank you, Shannon, for having me. This is great. So thank you, guys.
Of course.
And stay safe out there. Wear your mask. Stay safe.
Yes.
Priority first.